Welcome to The Learning Curve, a podcast by Edmonton Catholic Schools, where we celebrate the journey of teaching, learning, and growing together in faith and community. Before we begin today's episode, let us take a moment to pause in prayer and acknowledge the land on which we gather. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen. Gracious God, we thank you for the gift of this day and for the opportunity to learn from one another. Bless the educators, students, and communities we serve. May our conversations today be filled with wisdom, compassion, and a shared commitment to student success. Guide our hearts and minds as we continue to grow in faith and service. We ask this through Christ our Lord. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We acknowledge that we are recording this podcast on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional land of the Cree, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Métis peoples. We honor and respect the histories, languages, and cultures of the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples of Turtle Island, whose presence continues to enrich our communities. As educators, we commit ourselves to the ongoing work of reconciliation and to walking forward in partnership and peace. In today's episode, recorded in the 2023-2024 school year, we are shining a spotlight on the incredible work happening at St. Teresa of Calcutta School. Elementary math consultant Amy Swinkels hosts this episode and is joined by Principal Tisa Haesch, Assistant Principal and Learning Coach Suzanne Campiou, Grade 5 teacher Erika Dubrule, and Inclusive Consultant Nick Freeman to discuss how their school has embraced data-informed instruction and built a thriving professional learning community focused on mathematics using the collaborative response model. From analyzing MAST results to implementing collaborative response model meetings, this team shared how trust and a commitment to every student have transformed their approach to teaching and learning. Let's dive into this inspiring conversation.
My name is Amy Swinkels, and I am one of the elementary mathematics consultants here at Edmonton Catholic Schools. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by some amazing people from St. Teresa of Calcutta. And would you like to introduce yourselves briefly and sort of what your role is here at St. Teresa of Calcutta?
Sure. Thanks, Amy, for inviting me to this podcast this afternoon. My name is Tisa Haesch, and of course, I'm the principal of St. Teresa of Calcutta School, and I've been blessed to serve the school community for the past 4 years. And now I'll introduce you to my partner.
I'm Suzanne Campiou. I am the assistant principal and learning coach here at St. Teresa of Calcutta, and this is my 3rd year here, and I'm very blessed to be here.
And then I'm Erika Dubrule. I'm a grade 5 teacher. This is my first year teaching and at the school, and I've been very blessed to be at the school for my first year.
And the reason why you're here today is because we wanted to sort of highlight some of the amazing things that are happening here at this school and what you have done and what you are in the process of doing with mathematics. And just to give a little context, with our mathematics assessment, the MAST, after your students wrote it last year, you almost immediately booked me in to help your site analyze the data from the MAST to really inform what your teachers were doing for the entirety of the school year. And what you have taken and run with from that has been absolutely phenomenal. So would you like to just sort of mention and chat a little bit about sort of where that initial MAST analysis has taken us?
I think when we first looked at the data, we realized that as a school community, we're doing lots. Our teachers are doing a lot to support their students and their learning all the time, but our results weren't showing all the effort that's being put in. And so we needed to find something a little bit more, find more specifically what the data meant and where we needed to provide that target instruction, either in the classroom or in small groups for those students. And then from that data, we were able to have our collaborative meetings and come at it from an approach where everybody is working together to see what is it that we can do as a school. So for example, maybe it was bringing in the math games to use every day or using the anchor charts, bringing things that are universal designs for learning into the classroom school-wide.
Absolutely. And what strikes me as being so powerful with your journey is we had that initial MAST analysis date. We had booked an additional professional development date where we looked then at what are the next steps. Once you've really looking at the data, where would you go from here? But it didn't stop. You then established your collaborative response model meetings where I had the absolute pleasure of joining you for these. And then these have happened a few times now. This will be our second one. And in between have had visits with your teachers. So what really motivated you to establish such a powerful professional learning community within your school?
Well, we really wanted the voice of all our teachers. We had already journeyed through with our literacy focus the year prior, and we knew by looking at our literacy through the collaborative response model that this made a huge impact, having all our staff at the table working with kids at the forefront of everything we do, kids' success, our students' success. And so with this, we celebrate the learning. We have our team share what's going well with mathematics in the classroom. At our meetings, we established norms so everyone's voice could be heard. And it was very action-oriented to bring your concerns that you may have about a student in numeracy. And usually one student leads to a number of students under the same umbrella. And so from there, we developed strategies as a team. And some of the best strategies come from our colleagues and other members of the team from the school perspective with different roles. And so we developed strategies and then action plans. And so the collaborative response in our meetings is very action-orientated. I lost my train of thought, sorry.
I think it's action-orientated to allow for ensuring that there's continuous growth for all of our students, for everyone within the school setting.
And we're able to do that because we've developed trust amongst each other. The teachers know we're all in it together. So it's every child, every day, no exception. One great leader, Brie Whalen, once said, and it's posted in my office. And the staff and all know that we're in it together. We walk with you. We are knee to knee. We've been so blessed to have Amy join in on our collaborative response this year, and also our inclusive consultant, Nick Freeman, also joining in with our meetings so that they know it gets messy at times when you're working with action plans and kids learning to be successful. We're together, we're journeying, and that's where our success, I think, has led us.
Yeah, I think too, because you're like what works for one class might not work at one time for another class, but you're bouncing ideas off of each other. So you're really allowing for that collaboration with everyone in times where you might not know what to do to meet the needs of that child.
I think being a first year teacher coming in, I was very like, oh my gosh, I'm coming in with none of this knowledge. What am I going to do? But then when I talked about in the CRM meeting, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only teacher experiencing this. There's someone else. So it kind of validated me as a teacher. And I was like, and then talking with everyone about ideas that we could do and actually like putting those into my classroom, and other teachers doing that has helped me like significantly from August to now in my teaching practice.
That's amazing. And I think a lot of that comes down to the root of, that common goal, that everyone in that room has the common goal and it's very clearly communicated, right? Everyone knows that everyone is working together. So there is that very clear trust within each other as well. Even if, some of the ideas at first might be, whoa, that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. How would I even approach that? There is that trust to try it out, which also speaks volumes to the collaborative community that you have here within the school as well.
I feel like if I do something and it doesn't go the way I want it to, I don't feel like embarrassed that like I've quote unquote like failed or didn't do a good job maybe in that lesson, because then I go right to Tisa and Suzanne and be like, hey, this didn't work. Or even Conrad, my grade partner, I'm like, hey, this didn't work. What can I do? And I don't feel like I have that embarrassment where I have to be like, oh my God, I'm so perfect. But it's like, no, I'm still trying. And in these meetings, I feel like very like, okay, it's not just me. I got this, right?
And even today, a lot of the conversations went back, and multiple times we checked on the data of students based on the conversations. Does this track? Does this follow that, what we've seen, or does it differ? And that it's constantly coming back to that data to go deeper. Now, one of the things that I've noticed has been really powerful is that you very much as a staff remain focused on the student outcome. Could you speak a little bit about how you built that into your professional learning community? It is truly focused. Because I know, and I think, Nick, you've probably experienced these as well, where we've been in CRMs And it can go awry to simply a conversation of behavior, or the child can't, or all of the extraneous circumstances based around a student. But you really focus on that student learning outcome. Wondering if you could speak to that a little bit.
Even in today's meeting, but it started, you're always looking at your locus of control. What is in our locus of control? And we go back to that with our staff, constantly reminding, because it's easy to look at, home environment, parent support, but we bring it back to a school level. What can we do as a school team to help our kids be successful learners? And then the conversation comes back, and we have to sometimes navigate and look at pathways, be creative, always bringing it back to what can we do as a school, locus of control.
And I think if we, like, that works today's meeting too, but it just speaks to how it's been evolving. Because like, as Amy said earlier, we had right from the beginning, we went through the data, analyzed it. Where are the areas that we need to improve and grow in? Where are the areas that we're doing very well in, both of them? And then we came up with these, like, I would say 5 non-negotiable things that we're going to do in every classroom across the school to build that capacity, regardless of what you were saying, Tisa, with that things that are not in our control. But what are the 5 things that we can do every day? And part of that was even just going down to sticky notes and having a very big group conversation as to what do we feel are the important things that need to be within a numeracy classroom. And then as a class, we went through it, or as a group, not a class, as a staff, we went through and we decided things like manipulatives and anchor charts, math games, things that everybody is already doing. But what are those 5 things that are going to get the most impact for our students? But it continues to evolve and grow. And those learning intentions that we have, we come back to them. It's always coming back to the data, coming back to that piece for the kids.
I'll say one thing that's been kind of like really refreshing, specifically with regards to, I guess, oftentimes my role in kind of working with school communities and school teams. So much so with St. Teresa of Calcutta is at your meetings is like the focusing on like the key issue, which is sort of all encompassing, right? And I think oftentimes, we end up in situations where we can, as Amy referenced earlier, become cyclical conversations about a specific student or a specific behavior, and bringing it back to specific learning outcomes, bringing it back to specific key issues is more student centered and more naturally inclusive, because it's always these situations are applicable to more than one student, right? So that all encompassing mentality, my child, your child, our child mentality, these things that may benefit one student, those hardest to reach kids, typically benefits many students. And so I think that's sort of, one of the aspects that's been like, great to be a part of, and fosters that mentality, which I love.
And Nick, could you just give us a little context and of your role as well? Because I'm afraid we missed you in the introduction. I apologize.
We'll edit that part out, or not. It doesn't really matter. Having said that, maybe that's the great introduction to my role. That's why I'm late. Oftentimes these situations are such that, I'll say this. So my role is an inclusive consultant. So I work alongside school teams to support diverse learner needs, which encompasses a really wide spectrum. Oftentimes, the first place it goes is to where there are behavioral needs, for lack of a better word. Every child has behavioral. Humans have behavioral needs, but oftentimes it does stem from learning difficulties at the end of the day, right? Skill deficits, those lagging skills pieces. And so, which is why it's been so great to be a part of this, to see the conversation centered on that student learning, strategies in the classroom, active participation, because we know within every site, and this is a great example of those sites where there's these islands of excellence everywhere. And so when you bring those ideas together, and then you've got that specific lens to help guide the conversation even further into those deep conversations, and then it's amazing because I go to classrooms again, oftentimes because where there's behavioral challenges, for lack of a better word, as well as learning difficulties, because they are typically connected. And it's amazing now to be part of these meetings and then go into classrooms and see the evidence of the strategies and being referred to, and then seeing, those students utilize those strategies, right? And so it brings it back to the foundations of accessing learning, I guess is what I'm getting at.
And we've talked a little bit about, these meetings, these professional learning community meetings that you're having, and that they're taking place in the form of the collaborative response model, otherwise known as the CRM. Could you walk us through just that structure of the CRM? Because I think that the structure that is in place is part of the success.
Well, as part of our growth and the collaborative response, one of the things we did was come together as a staff, and we developed a continuous supports. Last year, we developed a continuous supports for all learners in literacy. This year, our focus is on numeracy. And so together, as Suzanne mentioned, we brought out the stickies and we talked about where on our continuous supports kids need supports. Are they at, I'm going to stop for a second. Are we talking about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3? Are we going to go back to just...
I think that would be, I think that natural evolution, right, of identifying, not classifying the students, but kind of just focusing on, I suppose, in the evolution of the supports and the strategies. That seems...
I think especially because when they were doing that, it was good for the teachers to realize that there are a variety of supports within, especially first year teachers. Like
I had no idea.
Right? So I think you're good to go into that piece. Yeah.
Right. So that's good. But as we came together, our first collaborative response meeting in November, our team, full group, it was a professional development day, and we talked about our continuous supports. What do all kids need to be successful? And we looked at the universal
designs
for learning strategies that all kids should be able to access, and wrote them down. And then as we go up in our interventions,
what we did was that goes back to that whole comment with the stickies that I had made earlier, is that we then decided, like, staff each wrote down, like you were saying, what are those universal strategies that we need to put into place or are already being put into place within our classrooms, and where do they fit on the continuum of supports for students? Are they tier 1, 2, 3, 4? We realized, but we kind of went through, and it was really beneficial because teachers were able to themselves determine our manipulatives, the use of, let's say, digiblocks, a tier 1 or tier 2, what would be a tier 3, or those very odd times, the tier 4 supports. But it was good for the teachers to know, A, there are great things already happening in our building across all grades. B, for those new teachers that are coming in, what are things that they might need some support with? If they've never heard of doing an anchor chart to support student thinking, they needed that support. It gave that bit of information to those teachers to help build that capacity and the knowledge, that shared knowledge amongst a team within the numeracy lens.
And then taking that into the classroom and like using it. Like I use all 5 of them. And when I do plan my units for math, I go back and I have them like, hey, how can I do the anchor charts? How can I do the math journals? How can I use the math games? How can I use like the digiblocks, right? And I always think about that. And it honestly has made me planning my math lessons so like fun.
But I love that you can even tell me what those 5 things are. That's the 5 non-negotiables that are done across our school, that you know what they are and you're using them. That's just an example of
and like all my kids use it. Just like every single 25 kids in my class use it. They have access to it. They know, even if for one lesson they may not want to use their anchor chart, sounds good. You don't even have to use it. But the next lesson for those kids, they will grab it and it's like not even asking like, Mr. Brill, can I use it? They know, they have that confidence now. And I see it in my classroom. That's why like even talking about like, oh, like who like struggles and stuff, like it's like I don't see it. I don't see it on a day-to-day basis because my kids and that confidence is there. And it's like a whole school confidence that I have seen.
And I think that's been the success with your collaborative response model. Now, for individuals who are listening that would love to have that, love to paint them a picture, if you will, of what it would be like to walk in and be a fly on the wall, if you will, to your collaborative response model meetings. Could you paint a picture of that, what that looks like?
I think it starts with, we always share our norms. We agreed upon those even last year with our literacy continuum of supports, and our literacy focus was last year. Those norms very much continued into this year. We tweaked them and stuff at the beginning of the year, but we always honor those norms and we have those norms. And so that very much sets the stage for how our meetings work. And then everybody that's in the meeting has a chance to share. There's usually about 5 or 6 people, staff members, teachers, and support staff that are in those meetings, and everybody gets a chance to share. We always start with our successes. What are some things that we want to celebrate? And it might just be the kid who was really struggling in the last meeting is now not struggling as much. Something like that. varies for each person, but it's always has that numeracy focus, the math focus. And then from there, we go into what are the things that you're struggling with as a teacher in the classroom. Maybe there's a group of students. Usually it ends up being a group of students that are struggling with the same thing, the same concept or something like that. And then we, as a group, decide, okay, what is it? Have you tried this? Or we ask questions of each other. Does it mean this? Does it mean that? And so but it's very much a collaborative piece, and everybody gets a chance to share and ask questions and build from there.
And how often do you actually have your collaborative response meetings, and how long do they actually take? I mean, this sounds like you could be in a meeting all day to talk about all the things. So what does that structure look like?
Well, we have in our collaborative response, we have roles. And so we have a facilitator, a note taker, an interrupter, if it needs interrupting, a timekeeper to keep us on time. Our meetings here at St. Teresa of Calcutta are 45 minutes, and we do keep to the time. We have our timekeeper reminding us.
Set it on the phone and the alarm goes off.
Yeah, that's reminding us to keep focused. And the interrupter, if it comes, we have to sometimes bring it back to the issue, back to our action plan. So we stay focused and on the plan.
Which is critical, I think, right? It sort of creates that buy-in, that engagement of accountability piece, and certainly that action-oriented. Sometimes when meetings spiral without direction and clear, concrete guidelines, expectations, you lose sight of what the key issue is or why you're here to begin with. Just like I think a lesson would be for a kid. Sometimes it's like you got to know where the car is going, what the direction is before you get in the car, and you have to have that clear-cut, like, learning outcome, learning target, and then you get into it. Although reserving time for those celebrations and successes is something that certainly in the inclusive world is really, really important, because sometimes for some of our kids, it's baby steps progress. So I always love that aspect.
I think too, just to add on to what Nick said, one of the things I've noticed is that idea of what is the key issue is part of all of our meetings. We're usually in meetings with similar grade groupings. So like today we had our meetings, and so it was like kindergarten, grade 1 together, grade 2s and 3s together, grade 4, and grade 4 was separate because we have 2 grade 4 classes, and then grade 5s and 6 were together. There was 3 teachers and the support staff there. But I think because we have that key issue that the teacher brings forward, that's what maintains our focus so that we're not wandering off and around. We're always maintaining that focus. And then if we need to, we come back to what is the key issue that the teacher is seeing for that child or that group of students.
And most time, if a teacher has an issue in their classroom, it also is the same thing that happens in the same other classrooms, right? Like even today, so something happened and then all the other teachers were like, same, we had that, right? So then that kind of guides it as well.
What was also interesting with today is we noticed that there was some common trends among various grade levels and grade groupings, which also can help drive sort of those next steps for everyone within the school, which is really powerful too. Now, with any groupings of people though, gather people together, and there's always potential for perhaps some conflict. What steps do you put into place to really address any conflicts or perhaps differing viewpoints that might arise in your professional learning community, in your CRM?
Well, even today in our meeting, we were talking about celebrations. At the same time as celebration was being shared, there was also a focus on something that wasn't under control from home, kind of went to the negative place. And so I had to bring it back and say, well, right now we're celebrating celebrations. So we want to stay focused on celebrations, always bringing it back. It's a place to definitely share your voice. But at the same time, we want to keep it solution focused. And so if it's solution focused, we could bring it back to what can we do to help you? What can we do? What strategies will be helpful to help this child be successful?
I also think because the teachers, when we have our meetings, I pull up the meeting notes on the smart board beside, so the teachers or the staff that are there can see, okay, right now we're doing celebrations. Right now we're working on Erika in grade 5, we're working on her key issue, which, guess what? It's also a key issue for some kids in grade 5B and grade 6. So then we add to that piece. But I think having that visual up on the smartboard, the staff can see it helps maintain that focus and allows for less conflict because people can visually see it's their own anchor chart for the meeting, right? They can see it as they're going through. So I think that allows for that piece. I also think a big part for us here at this school is we do have very strong relationships with one another that we have that going into our meetings and having the norm of, like, one of our norms is respecting each other. We don't always have to agree, but we're going to be respectful. I think that's important too. It's something we agreed upon as a staff.
I was going to say, just kind of jumping into, it's certainly helpful whenever, I think disagreeing and conflict can be healthy in many cases. It's just obviously the approaches matter, and that natural conditions you create of collaboration and referring back to common goals is helpful. But I also was going to touch on, the importance of professional judgment, but as well as that data piece, right? Being data informed as much as possible to help guide those conversations. Because at the end of the day, we're all here for the same purpose, which is just to support the students. And so it's nice whenever that does happen. We reference progress monitoring and different things like that to help guide the conversation and guide some of the decision making.
So let's talk specifics.
Okay.
Let's talk specifics. What are some of the evidence-based practices that you've implemented or that have been implemented as a result of your professional learning community, as a result of your CRM? What are some of the great things that are happening in your school?
So I think from going after we did the data dive and we knew the areas that, for example, one thing across our school that students really struggled with math was with place value. One of the things that we had built even into our timetable, our schedule for the year, is from 9:45 to 10:15 every day. We have reading and math game focus. And so Monday on Teams, we all meet divisionally. So Div 1 will meet for 15 minutes with me on Teams, and I teach them a math game. Maybe it's a place value focused math game. Maybe it's an addition or a subtraction game. Just depends on what the teachers are mentioning through their collaborative response meetings as a area of concern. And then we teach games, and then I do that on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. The teachers continue to practice with the students in that game. And it allows teachers to work within their classrooms in the small groups with kids who might need to bring manipulatives into the game or addition charts or the anchor charts as they're playing that game. It also allows those teachers time to slide in beside partners playing a game and say, are they understanding? Are they using math focus? So you're able to do those pieces of assessment as a teacher right as the kids are playing. Div 2 does the same thing, but of course it's a Div 2 focused game. Maybe we're working on larger place value or multiplication and division instead. So sure, math games is one thing. The other thing we've done is through these collaborative meetings, when the teachers are talking in their groups, they'll realize my kids are struggling with long division. Wait, my kids are struggling with division too. And so it's allowed us to get together in multi-graded groups. And we have small group instruction that happens once a week for an hour. And I meet with the teachers. It also allows there to be more adults in the room to manage the manipulatives of the math games, to manage the small group where I'm meeting with a group of kids and Erika's meeting with a group of kids, but the rest of the kids are working independently. So someone else is able to manage that piece. And all of those are just two examples of things that we've done. We take the data, we take the information from the meeting, and we've created a solution for that.
What I find really interesting about that is you also touched base on the fact that, we have ongoing data taking place and we don't know, you said, I believe, we don't know how well it's working yet because we haven't done the MAST, but you've done so much in the form of formative assessment.
Yes.
And that formative assessment keeps coming back in our conversations and then is driving the conversations in the professional learning community for those next steps. And that certainly took place today. So it will be also very interesting, when that MAST comes out, but it's not about the MAST, right? It's about that ongoing formative assessment that's really, really taking place throughout everything. Erika, I don't want to put you on the spot, but has there been one particular piece that has changed your practice this year?
Has been my little math folder. So I went to Suzanne in the beginning of the year, and I was like, right now I'm going to focus on these kids' confidence, because I had some kids who were like, I hate math, Mr. Bro, I don't even want to open it. I was like, no, we are changing this. We are getting your confidence wherever you need. So Suzanne showed me a math journal, which had a multiplication chart, had fractions, had shapes. In my class, we've written all over it. If you look at it, there's Sharpie everywhere, but the kids know. And every single kid, no matter where they're at in their math journey, has one. And they have it on their desk. So it's not if they have to go get it, it's just on their desk and they open it. And they use it for practice. They use it for their test, because at the end of the day, even like for algebra, I was like, okay, can we isolate that variable? But they don't know their division. They can't even get there. And it's like, well, I want them to know that 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, but let's focus on that. So they have their multiplication chart to get there. And I've seen the kids' confidence just get, like, it's crazy now. Like, I don't think I have a kid in my class who could be like, I hate math. I don't think I've had those words come out, and they know and they work on it. And even like our ratios, like our unit that we just finished, like whole test yesterday, the kids were like, I got this. And I was like, yeah, you do. You got it. Right. And like validating their feelings, or even like, oh, like, and like taking that time where it's like, yeah, I know at the end of the year I need to cover so and so. But it's like, okay, this week I want to test on Friday. But then like Wednesday, Thursday comes and I'm like, you know what? They don't get it. Why am I going to test them on this? Let's spend an extra day doing my small groups and pulling out those kids so they can do well on that test, so everyone feels like they have success in the classroom. So that's my big focus this year.
I love hearing that. I mean, if there was a video of this room, as you said that, our faces all lit up, right? Because that's the ultimate goal, is to make and ensure that people feel successful in mathematics, right? That's a key piece. We have been living in an interesting time, of course. We have all this wonderful stuff happening in your school. You're also implementing new curriculum at the same time. How has new curriculum played a role in your professional learning community? And or, how has your professional learning community helped you implement new curriculum?
I think from the perspective, especially with our older grades, like our grade 5 and 6 teachers, it'll come up in our collaborative meetings, like even today it did. Our grade 6s and we're learning algebra, but because it's new curriculum, there's parts where the teacher had to scaffold that learning because they wouldn't have gotten those same outcomes last year with the grade 5 curriculum. And so building that piece in has allowed, he'll bring it forward to the table. The grade 6 teacher brings it forward in the meeting. And then it becomes a discussion of, okay, we know there's new curriculum. We know that I have to scaffold it in. Some kids are still not quite there. How can I build that for the kids so that they do feel confident, like Erika said? But I think having that whole group of professionals that are there wanting the best for every child and every day, it has allowed for that collaboration to be more freely accessible to all of our teachers.
What I think is so powerful is, I mean, we talk about analyzing data. You as a school have not only analyzed the data, but you're living and growing with the data. You're using that data to truly inform everything that's happening within mathematics within your school, which is an incredible celebration and a dream of mine for all schools. So Erika, first of all, thank you for not only just joining us in this podcast. I think as a first-year teacher, I feel I probably would have been a little bit overwhelmed to do such a thing. So kudos to you. And, you're certainly been a pivotal piece in the conversations with these CRMs within your grade 5 piece. But my real question for you is, how has your belief in your teaching abilities changed as a result of this professional learning community?
Yeah, I think I came in thinking, oh my gosh, it's just going to be me. Like with the curriculum and teaching the kids, it's just going to be me. And then honestly, the school with Tisa and Suzanne's support, it's not just me. It's a community. Having my grade partner, we work very closely, so I always feel supported. That I have my for me, she's like I say she's my teaching partner, right? We communicate on everything. So then that has changed. I even go to the previous teachers in grade 4. I'm like, hey, so I'm doing this unit in math. Where did you guys end up last year? And that kind of gives me a start to where I need to pick up with my grade 5s with that. And it's just kind of belief that like, it's such a, like, it's what's like that saying about takes a village to raise a child. And like, I literally see that here. That's not just me. It is everybody. And we all have the best interest of the kids. And so I've taken that from August Erika being like, oh my God, it's just me, to March Erika being like, no, it is a community. I am so supported in what I do that in my teaching, like I told Suzanne, like I think in December, I'm like, I'm not even tired. I'm having so much fun. I keep going. And I'm like, I think it's because I have so many people to bounce ideas off that I don't have that just always sitting with me.
That true power of collective efficacy
literally
is coming through with everything that you're saying.
Yeah.
you are journeying along this path, not alone, but with your teaching partner, with your administration, and with every other individual in this building.
That's a powerful, I'm glad that question came up. And it kind of radiates off of you. And I feel like it's one of those things whereby it completely reframes the conversations and situations with the students we work with, right? Is that belief you can make a difference, which we know is so much grounded in research and evidence. And so when you see that, changes, I think, everyone's approach to a situation when you see that belief system in individual teachers like yourself, as well as like, as Amy said, that collective advocacy piece.
What is your dream for education?
Big question, Amy. It's a big question. Very open-ended.
I think as a first-year teacher, especially being at the school for my first year, I've had that CRM. You know, like I don't even think about it. I think it's like just engraved right now. Like all I'm teaching, that's what I go back to. And wherever I end up next year, the year after, I hope to take that with me and then even like kind of bring it up. And no matter what school I go to, that's something I'm bringing with me. And I have that on my back, that every school I work at, we could do these CRM meetings.
I think the big dream for me, and it goes back to what Erika said, and that's why when you said, if you could see a video, we'd all be smiling. And I know Tisa and I talk about this often as administrators of this school. We want every child every day to be successful. And if the dream for education would be so that the barriers for student learning are broken down, so that every child every day is successful, goes home feeling confident in their learning, even if it means they're in grade 5 but doing grade 1 work, and that they still feel confident in that. That would be amazing if that could happen. If we could do that for every child every day, all the time, that would be amazing.
Well said, Suzanne. She took the words right out of my mouth. I knew you would think very similarly. For me, it's definitely, it goes back to that. Every child every day, no exception. And that's my dream school. It's been my dream. It's been 34 years of education, and it continues to be my dream for kids, is that we're inclusive. Everyone has access to the learning that they need. Different pathways are available for student success. Universal design for learning for all.
Yeah, I'm in line with a similar thought process. When I glanced at this question or heard that question, I thought to myself, I think for me, it's you want school to be a place for students where they want to be, and part of why they want, among the reasons why they want to be there is because they enjoy learning. And so I always think to myself, part of how you get them to enjoy learning is you foster their nurture. You nurture and you foster their passions and their interests, whatever that might be. Because ultimately, I think in doing that, you're setting up for the greatest degree of life skills. You're setting up with, I'm not losing my train of thought here, but essentially, I feel like, there's a unique pathway for all of us, and we want to be guided. The path we want to be guided on is aligned with what drives us, right? Like what we're passionate about. So finding ways to engage students through curriculum that aligns with those passions and interests is one of my dreams for education.
Amy, what's yours?
I have so many. For me, the biggest one is that every student finds that their education to be rich and engaging and meaningful so that it motivates them to truly continue on. So finding that drive, it's a common thread. And I believe it's a common thread for many of us as educators. We don't want students to just be and do. We want them to be and do. We want them engaged. We want them to love and be passionate about what they're learning and their education. And I really think that, what you're doing here at St. Teresa of Calcutta is helping to facilitate that. And every single CRM meeting, I know that I leave feeling very excited about the pathway that your school is journeying on and the impact that it will make with students. So I thank you not only for engaging in such a powerful professional learning community, but thank you as well for agreeing to just chat a little bit about your story, because I think it is definitely a story worth sharing.
Thank you for having us, Amy.
And thanks for joining our meetings, because that's a big one. Like having you and Nick there as our math consultant and our inclusive consultant, bringing that lens in has definitely also supported the teachers. You're working alongside them, at the elbow with them. That's important.
And they're calling
Always.
you in. Yeah. The teachers feel so comfortable reaching out on their own now.
Yeah.
Before it was us having you come into our building and facilitate, but now reaching out independently, just picking up the phone. And
comes down to trust, right?
Yeah.
We're journeying alongside.
Right. You're part of the St. Teresa of Calcutta family.
Thank you.
As we close this episode of The Learning Curve, we want to thank the team at St. Teresa of Calcutta for sharing their journey with us. Their story is a powerful reminder that when educators come together with a shared purpose, a spirit of collaboration, and a focus on student outcomes, incredible things can happen. From data analysis to daily classroom practices, their commitment to every child, every day, no exception, is truly inspiring. We hope this episode encourages you to reflect on your own school community and the ways you can build trust, foster collaboration, and keep student learning at the heart of everything you do. Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe, share this episode with a colleague, and join us next time on the Learning Curve podcast.